Well, I rudely interrupted Mr. Mayo Bartlett before I went here. You were drawing a line between who's a criminal and who isn't here. How do you make that distinction?
Well, when the government commits crimes, there's no penalty. In fact, it's difficult.
You're the lawyer. You can't do that. How do you know the government committed a crime?
Well,
one court just held up the metadata program legal.
But
Maybe
another court said that it wasn't. Another
Okay.
court said it wasn't. So we don't have a final determination
So
right
it's not
now.
illegal yet.
Well, what we do know is that if there's an illegal wiretap, there's virtually no consequence against the government. If you have a prosecutor who commits prosecutorial misconduct, that person doesn't lose their job most likely, and they certainly don't go to jail, although very recently in Texas there was a suggestion that the judge was actually taken off the bench and would do some time. But the same penalties don't exist. So for instance, if you lie to a federal authority, a federal agent, it's a federal crime. And if they lie to you, there's no such penalty whatsoever. Even when we look at Congress, the only time you'll be charged for lying to Congress is if you're under oath. So if you notice, routinely, members of Congress refuse to have certain witnesses testify under oath when they're oil company executives or sometimes others. So it's a double-edged sword, and it's really also a double standard. You're telling the average person who doesn't have the backing of big lobbyists that if they go and expose their information, there's going to be this huge penalty, and we're suggesting that they should be happy to accept it.
If he had whistleblower protection, okay, because I'm not remotely going to give Snowden the benefit of the doubt that he knew the distinction between a contractor and if he worked at the NSA and what his whistleblower rights were or were not. Let's just humor me for a second. Does anybody think for a second that if he had whistleblower protection, he still wouldn't have done what he did?
Well, if we had a real court, instead of having the FISA court, where it's a secret court with judges who don't give us public opinions, we really don't know what's happening there. They get warrants.
But you're making this about the NSA, and to me this is about something much bigger, which is you signed up to go work, at this particular case, at the NSA, okay? You're protecting state secrets. You just don't get. There is such a thing as an oath. You just don't get to decide what you like and what you don't like.
Just don't give up state secrets.
You just don't do that.
But if you had information that the NSA may be acting illegally, or the FBI might be acting illegally, or the CIA might be acting illegally, how safe would you feel going through the legal channels trying to get justice or trying to expose those secrets? These agencies that kill people.
Well, why work for the agency then?
Well, because
you can't have it both ways.
Maybe he didn't know when he signed up there that he was running into something. You don't know.
What do you think you're doing
at
the NSA, playing tiddlywinks?
Well, but you do need, but you need good people who are ethical people at the NSA. So if the NSA is saying destroy exculpatory information that proves that somebody didn't commit a crime,
which no one's alleging they did.
Well, but we know that that does occur, and if that happens,
you don't know. Hold
well,
on one second.
we do know
Hold
that,
on
and
one
we
second.
do also know that.
You asked me a question. If it was one of the five of us, what I hope we would do is, if I found that I didn't have the proper chain of command, and obviously according to even Snowden, he wasn't so petrified that he couldn't go to a superior and say he had a problem with it, I would go to any one of the top firms that would be more than happy to take this case here and go right up to the
Microsoft doesn't want to take on the NSA. Facebook doesn't want to take on the NSA.
When you go to that top firm, also you are violating your oath because you're not supposed to divulge it to anyone. So if you go to an attorney, you've breached your oath. You can't share these secrets with anyone, so that means that they're forever preserved.
Let's see. He shared it with the biggest dailies in the world, arguably. He then went to China, then to Russia, and I think even Venezuela, if you had a hopscotch, I'm not sure what Chavez, okay? And he basically said who would give him the best deal that he could be able to, reside in their country for this. He didn't go to Sweden or any of the more traditional neutral places here. He went to enemies of the state and basically said, I've got state secrets. They were the only ones willing to take.
Even members of Congress, though, can't divulge. The members of Congress can't divulge what they talk about in committee because it's a state secret. So if they can't divulge it, then certainly he can't divulge it, which means that we would never know. But it means that we will never know what the government is doing. The government should be transparent. No matter what administration it is, it should be transparent. We should have an idea of what our government is doing, what our real rights to privacy are, and what we're doing elsewhere.
I agree. This is an overdue debate we've had in this country, or haven't had in this country, about where since 9/11 privacy protections. I get it. But the idea that the CIA and the NSA, by definition, can be a transparent organization here, I think is naive. Now, should we have more? Should we have more ideas since they work for us? I'm with you on that. But the way he went about it and the precedent it could set, if God forbid we gave this guy clemency or a pardon, I think it's more dangerous than even what he did.
Well,
But-
it's not to say that the NSA or CIA would be transparent, but there ought to be a court that would be able to hear your grievance.
All right.
And
Now I'm
that
getting
should
many
be-
people yelling at me, even more than normal, including the director, and I am going to break, Ralph. All right. If de Blasio's critics didn't want to wait for the snow to begin slamming him, they didn't really have to. Some people already calling his inauguration ceremony not a good day for the city and calling de Blasio divider-in-chief. Now, maybe some of those critics could come in the formal circles here, but I think there's some legitimate complaints to what he said on that stage here. We'll have more on that after this.